Hello, everybody. This is your daily real estate practice exam question. And this was one that I went over with a student in a private tutoring session. So if you're interested in signing up for private tutoring sessions, shameless plug, links in the description down below. But let's take a look at this one because this was a stumper. It said a sales contract stipulates that a buyer is to pay the seller's transfer tax expenses. This practice is not customary in the area. In this case, A, the buyer and seller must amend the contract before the closing. B, the contract is voidable since the seller must pay the expense. C, the buyer may pay or not pay the expense at his or her option. Or D, the buyer must pay the expense. So, the first thing that my student did today that really threw them, they said, Stu, what's the transfer tax? So, my response to that was, well, do we need to know what that is in order to understand the question? Okay. And I think that that's something that a lot of you guys do on a regular basis. You sit there and you would go, so what does this mean? What is it? What is it? What is the situation here in regards to what's going on? What is this aspect of the question? I've never seen that. What's the story here? Don't do that. Don't add anything to the questions. So, whether you know or don't know what transfer taxes are, whether you have them in your state, you don't have them in your state, whatever the case may be, situation is this: transfer taxes, most states have them. And that's something that is paid at closing, typically by the seller, okay, because they're choosing to sell. And that is just a tax that they have to pay. There isn't much else to it. It's not anything else other than a fee, a tax that they have to pay to the government, okay? To usually to state government, okay? Um, so when we're talking about that, let's knock out a couple of answers. So the first one I want to knock out is the buyer may pay or not pay the expense at his or her option. No, that's not an option. And also, let's say this: that the contract is voidable since the seller must pay the expense. So it says that the practice is not customary in the area for the buyer to pay the expense because, again, typically this is a seller expense. This is something that typically normal, if we let everything just kind of go through, seller would pay this and everyone would say, yeah, this is what you normally do when in Rome. But customs do not lead us to laws. It doesn't say that it is legally binding to have the seller have to pay this. And the contract stipulates that the buyer pays it, so there's no need to amend the contract. So the buyer must pay the expense. So if we have the contract, everything's agreed to, and they agree to paying the expense, even though it is not customary in the area, for whatever reason they agreed to it, that's what they must do. Buyer must pay the expense. That is the answer, guys. So I hope you like this one. And again, if you do, hit that like button, hit subscribe, leave a comment down below. And also, like I said, shameless plug, you want to sign up for private lessons? Link is down below in the description. So guys, have a great one, and I'll see you real soon.